everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Comic Source Podcast. Real treat for you today. We're going to talk about The Curse of Sherlee Johnson, an upcoming title in the Spawn universe. I've got Jonathan Glapion joining me, the artist. He's been on before to talk inking. And for the first time, Daniel Henriques, also you may know as an inker, but he's actually co-created this property that's in the Spawn universe, excuse me, with Jonathan. So let me throw it over to you first, Daniel. People may be like, Sherlee Johnson, like, what the heck is that? Give us the elevator pitch for the series.
Sherlee Johnson is a very little-known character that appeared in about 2 panels, if I'm not mistaken, from Spawn 5. And actually, me and Jonathan were talking about this early on, because again, all of this is revolving around Sherlee Johnson, but we had already created this big universe that we wanted to do. And then I had these ideas to incorporate Sherlee as well in what we were trying to build, because it does work in the merger with the Spawn universe of what we were trying to do. But about what Sherlee is, again, in issue 5, and there might be readers who maybe just haven't went that far back, as it is a lot of issues back. She was killed in that issue by the infamous, child killer, Billy Kincaid. And in my mind, I always found it weird, per se, even though I'm a massive Spawn fan. I buy it and read it up to this day. Spawn, he found out that a child had been kidnapped. He went there. He did his vengeance. He did what he had to do on Billy Kincaid, and he just left. He never looked for Sherlee. And in my mind, again, even as a fan reading this, I was always like, what if she was still alive? What if she was in that freezer just suffering? She was mutilated. She's dying. And with almost her final breath, like in a little crack of that freezer, she sees a superhero come in. She thinks she's saved. And Spawn comes in. He does what he has to do to Kincaid. And he leaves. And she dies alone, abandoned by what she thought was a hero. What are the consequences to Spawn's actions when he's only thinking about his own sense of justice? That's what started it all. And then from there on, because Spawn evolved quite a bit. Again, we're on issue 300 and a lot. I don't remember the exact issue, but we've even seen that Billy Kincaid at this point, he has a deal with Clown, and Clown now has all of the souls of the kids that Billy Kincaid died. They look like tiny little minion clowns. Why is Sherlee not one of those? You can see even in the image in the background that she does have the clown makeup, but she's not one of the little minions. Why is that? Again, that's what we're exploring it from there on. I don't want to give it everything away, but that's the starting point. We will discover where she's been, what happened, and what's moving forward with her and this new character as well, the stranger. But that's the starting point to the story.
Yeah, I mean, you make a fantastic point, because even had Spawn found her and she'd already been dead, I mean, we know in the Spawn universe, dead doesn't necessarily mean dead. It just means you're, in a different plane of existence or what have you. So, yeah, what did happen to her? And what's fascinating, and I know Todd's excited about this as well, because he loves when people go back and mine things, little Easter eggs he planted or goes back and builds story from events that happened previously. So let me ask you, Jonathan, when Daniel came to you with this idea, you being familiar with Spawn and having been around the industry for so long, like, what were your thoughts about coming on as the penciler? Like I said, award-winning inker, but first chance to really kind of direct it, from almost like a cinematographer, being that you're handling the visuals in this one.
Well, that question's kind of formed a little weird for me, because that's not accurate. Okay. Please correct me. Daniel didn't pitch it to me. We came up with this together.
Okay, gotcha.
Because we're on the phone all the time. If people don't know, we're literally on the phone every day.
Gotcha.
So, and this has been since what Daniel broke in. When we were working together on projects, we were always either on Google Hangout or on the phone, just keeping each other awake and alive through deadlines.
Gotcha.
our working relationship on this project is literally the birth of it was us being goofy on the phone.
Oh, wow.
And the whole thing came about from a what if. And, what if we did this? And it was like I said, what did I say, Daniel? What was it about?
It's like, I want, like, if you want to write, then write me a story that doesn't have buildings or cars.
Right. Could we do something like that? And he was just like, well, yeah, it just depends on your environment you want it in. And I was like, oh, okay, well, cool. And so it wasn't it was more organic. It wasn't a fishing expedition or anything like that. Or like, I know that Daniel wanted to write, and we're both in this transitioning phase. Whether we wanted it or not. The reality was, for us, there was nowhere else to go. So we talked about ideas for other things before this.
Yep.
We have a couple of other projects that we have a bit fleshed out that we want to go down that road at some point. But the one thing that we both agreed is we didn't want to just do one thing and live and die on that one idea. Why not think of other things to do? So I don't know. I just went off on a tangent, but so it wasn't like a, kind of like a work for hire thing. It was just more like two friends came up with an idea that to do something that we might not have ever thought we could do.
Yeah. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I know that a lot of companies are getting away from using inkers. Unfortunately, that's the case, because a lot of people work digital now and they go directly to the colors. And I kind of miss the old traditional. Like I can tell when it's traditional pencils and inked. In fact, there's the Green Lantern Corps issue that comes out this week has Eduardo Panseco. And then Jason Paz handle inks, and you could tell the art is so much better. So did that kind of factor in you guys saying, "Hey, let's branch out here"?
Well, I mean, I'm just going to be what anybody that's trying to break into inking now, it's a bit risky because it just doesn't pay enough. Right. It does not pay enough.
Yeah,
I'm not discouraging anyone from breaking in. However you can get in, because you can maneuver however you want. But it does become difficult when you get good at a craft and then you start taking in a lot of work. You kind of forget about those other avenues because you're working all the time.
Right, yeah.
But now we're at a place where it's just not sustainable as an inker, in my opinion. And we all get older and we have families. Daniel has a family. I have a family. And you just get to a point where you're likely to be capped quicker as an inker than you are as a penciler.
Right.
So you're only going to grow so far. And I was at the end of my thing. Yeah. So I wasn't going to make any more money, whether I would have to keep working with Greg, and I still wasn't going to make any more money as a pay grade.
Yeah. And that's what I was just going to expand on that per se, because it is that Jonathan was, in my opinion, again, I was a fan of Jonathan's work even before we became friends. He was at the top of what he was doing and working with Greg Capullo. You work with Greg and Scott Snyder on some of the biggest projects of the industry. My last project where I decided to really work steadily was with Frank Miller on Ronin. It's also relatively high in what can I do more from here? And we've always wanted to
meet Frank Miller.
Right. And we always wanted to create. I think that's the thing. And while we were doing this and on the phone, we just started creating, and it became that thing of God, what do we do now? And then fortunately, we had Thomas Healy and Todd who decided to take a chance on us. And because it is, I will even say it is scary to be okay, we're a known commodity as far as inking goes. We are doing work. We are kind of at the cap of where we can move. And to do this transition, it is what we want to do, but you're kind of starting over to a certain degree. So there's a little bit of fear of that, but there's also a lot of excitement in what Jonathan was saying about how we created things. Because I'm going to go on a limb and say there's not a lot of creators who function like we do, because it's 100% what Jonathan said. We're creating everything together. And even though we try to give each other freedom. We're like, I'm not trying to infringe on what Jonathan is doing by forcing him to draw something, or he's not trying to force me to write something. We're just talking. And there's certain drawings and certain pages and certain concepts that Jonathan does that influence where the story is going.
Right.
It's not necessarily that I have, okay, this has to be like that. It's really not. And same thing with Jonathan. Sometimes he's going through some stuff and he asks my opinion. Look, I designed this and this. What do you think? Yeah. And we riff off of stuff, and which I got into inking over the idea of collaboration. I always loved the idea of collaboration. And I feel that we transition to a higher state per se, where we're actually now creating what we're collaborating on. And it's incredibly rewarding.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. First of all, like you were saying, Jonathan, get in however you can get in. Once you've proven yourself, I mean, you guys are both, you have the contacts, you have the friends, people trust you because you've hit deadlines, you're professional, you're just good guys and good creators. But being that you have been inking for so long, it's impossible not to have picked up some storytelling skills, right? I mean, you guys love comics. Somebody gets into comics, to Jonathan's point, to get rich, right? You're doing it because you love comics, and you kind of learn that storytelling sensibility, and now you're just transferring that to kind of a different role. So let's talk about that specifically, Jonathan, developing your visual storytelling style. Being that you were an inker at the top of your game for so long, it seems like a pretty easy transition. Is that the case? Are you finding that visually your storytelling beats and your transitions from panel to panel just kind of came naturally as you transitioned to penciling?
I mean, I don't know that every day. So, the thing with art is funny because it can be rewarding today, and tomorrow you can forget everything that happened the previous day. It's literally like you're starting all over. I've had conversations with Todd about it. We laugh about it, and it's like, why I drew this thing without any hassles, any problems. And then so I assume tomorrow I'm going to have that same rhythm, Yeah. But then it doesn't happen. And it's like, what the heck? How did I forget how to draw, from one day to the next? So I don't think it was, you can pick up on things, but I think what I realize is, inking for so long, you can also fall into the trap of not paying enough attention to that storytelling aspect of it, because you're so engrossed in the detail of the inking chores. So sometimes you don't sit back from the page and pay attention to that because you're paying attention to other things, So this is all a learning process for me. I'm learning, and I'm having to relearn things, which is, it's perfectly fine. But I think like when the way me and Daniel work, like, so if I get stuck and I'm just like, I'm just stuck, dude. Right? And then we kind of talk to each other and, right. Yeah. What if you did this for this panel or and I may agree and then usually change my mind. And then he's like, well, you did have it like this, and then you change it back to this, and then so it's just all like down, man. It's there's no perfect formula. You just try to do the best you can, and at least for me, I'm constantly learning something new.
No, I will say though, because and again, Jonathan, I feel like Jonathan has been fueled by frustration and cuss words in the creation of this book. But like even that cover that you have up right now, the cover for issue 1, in my opinion, Jonathan has, and he always did, even when he was penciling, when he was inking, and he was already doing his own commissions and everything, has a great sense of design.
Yes.
Like he does some really striking stuff that like I draw a little bit. And when I do, I tend to be much more realistic. We've had this conversation. I don't have the graphic mind that Jonathan does. And like, again, that cover is a perfect example because that's Sherlee kind of exiting from the freezer. Then you have that big triangle shape of the stranger, which is also kind of like the co-star in the book, even though it's more focused on Sherlee. And he could have went the route of just doing a big pinup of Sherlee, and he didn't. He did that composition, and it really shows in the book as well, in my opinion. Jonathan kept being like, I don't know if the storytelling is great or if this or that, and it really looks great. And I say that as somebody who reads a lot of books, so I consume a lot of information as well. And for somebody who's just now doing it, it looks so damn good. And I'm saying this now in an interview. I don't say it to him in private, so he doesn't get a big hit, but it really looks really, really, really good.
Yeah,
I torture myself enough to keep myself from getting a big head. So,
well, I've seen a few interior pages, and yeah, I gotta agree. I was, I mean, I know you're talented, Jonathan. I know you always want to do your best. You're gonna push yourself. Well, I saw those pages, man, I was blown away. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe this guy's first interiors. Yeah, it was like so good. But going back to what you were saying, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it's funny. We're talking about, the storytelling because, before, like, I was kind of just doing like pinups and then Todd brought me on to do covers. Todd encouraged me to do some covers or whatever. And he kind of pushed me to do interiors because I was in Phoenix at his office and working on Spawn 300. And that's when the whole cover thing started happening, the conversation about me doing covers. And so I was like, I don't know what I'll do. Maybe I'll just do covers. And he's like, you don't want to do covers. And I was surprised. I thought he would say, oh yeah, keep you busy with some covers. But he did. He was like, no, you don't want to do covers. I was like, shit, I thought I wanted to do covers. It just seemed easier. And I was like, oh, really? Why? He's like, unless you're J. Scott Campbell, Alex Ross, or somebody like that, you're going to really move the needle. He's like, you'll garner more from doing interior work, and you'll learn more from doing the interior work and the storytelling. So he kind of like pushed me in that direction, kicking and screaming because I was a little terrified.
I can hear his voice in my head saying that. Just in that Todd voice. You don't want to do covers. Guy is so smart when it comes to the industry. But going back to what I was going to say before, playing off what you were saying, Daniel, about how you guys probably work in a way that nobody else does. And I think what Jonathan was saying about being stuck, right? He's stuck on something visually, or you're stuck on something with scripting, or not sure how to get from one story beat to the other as you're writing. You guys can fall back on that common language of storytelling through inking, which I find to be really fascinating. And especially because you've been friends for so long and you've built this together, as Jonathan pointed out. So for you, Daniel, does the fact that you've inked for so long, similar to what I was talking about with Jonathan here, the fact that he's inked for so long helped out his visual storytelling. What about for you in writing? Has it just been being around comics and seeing other people's sequential art that's helped you with your storytelling, you think? Or is it kind of like Jonathan was saying, where you're still... And it's like start from scratch?
No, to me, I do think it helped me visually because, like I said, I also draw a bit, nowhere near what Jonathan does. And I do think visually quite a bit. That is something that we talk sometimes. Because, like I said, I don't want to infringe at all, or not even infringe. I don't want to influence in any way what Jonathan is doing. It is his complete vision that needs to show up. So I try to do the plot literally as loose as possible. But I have the images in my head of what I've built, even working with Brian Hitch, who has a very cinematic look, and even the stuff with Frank. So for me, it actually influenced it in a way that now I have to hold back because I'm not the one doing it. Again, I have a story from what we spoke about, and now I want Jonathan to go ahead and do his thing because I love being surprised by what Jonathan then does because, like, holy crap, I didn't even ever thought about that, right. Because again, Jonathan is much better at me at doing that. And he does, there's a specific thing. Cause like I said, even his storytelling and his ideas, or even his frustrations at time, do influence the story. And there was, I forgot what issue it was, two or three, something like that, that there was a scene that it was a little bit of walking and talking per se. And our book is very action driven, but then there was a little bit of walking and talking. And Jonathan was doing it, and it kind of reached a point. It was like, how many talking head pages? Like, how can I do? How many different angles? Isn't this a bit too much? And I went to reread it, and we talked about it, and we ended up just moving the action and pushing some stuff, and I cut some dialogue in some pages, etc. Because even without Jonathan trying to give me tips on how to tell the story, just even almost as a reader and creator, it was like, no, you're completely right. He sensed, in a sense, let's call it like that needed a little bit of adjustment. And we adjust it accordingly, and we keep telling the story. Again, like same thing like Jonathan said, sometimes he's doing layouts and he sends me 2 or 3 for my opinion. And sometimes he follows it, sometimes he doesn't, but it always ends up great.
Yeah. And I got to say, so... go ahead, John.
It usually gives me an idea, like even if I go to Daniel if I'm not sure about something, because he consumes like more reading of comic books. I'm more like, oh, those are words. I like pictures. So I trust that, he reads enough to get the storytelling and things like that. So, I'll send him some stuff that I'm not sure about or self-conscious about. And so it is nice that we can kind of bounce that off of each other, even if he gives me something and I go, okay, I see that, but maybe if I do this, so it gives me like a springboard sometimes.
Right. Oh yeah.
But it's fun. It can be fun and frustrating at the same time, how we're both kind of doing that, because I know there's got to be frustrations on his end, and then there's like my frustrations of like, oh, shit, I don't know if I can draw that.
Right.
Yeah, that sounds good. Like 100-man army and, and this sort of wrangles like, but I can't draw that. We're learning together, man. It's just kind of.
And it's got to be really cool. I mean, the fact that you guys are working on a Spawn Universe title, you've kind of elevated this Sherlee Johnson character who, like Daniel's point earlier, only showed up in a few panels previously. The fact that you're elevating her, bringing her back, and Todd has done a cover for your book. I mean, that's got to be like, oh my God, a little bit of a like surreal moment for you guys. Oh, is this real? Is this really happening?
I got another really good one for you too. Another really good surreal moment is when me and Daniel were at New York Comic Con, and I was sitting next to Frank Miller, and I had some pages with me. You got to show Frank the pages and actually sit with him, and he actually looking at the pages while I'm like this trembling. But that was a pretty cool, surreal. I'm like, this is crazy.
No, and we're both children of Spawn universe in a sense. Jonathan started his career quite a few years ago. Was it you were helping on other stuff? But I think your first solo project was Sam Twitch, right?
Solo project with Sam Twitch. I started out helping on Curse of Spawn, and then
And I got into ink because again I started, I think, as most kids, drawing and telling my own stories, and I switched to inking because I live in Portugal. We don't have a big comic book community, especially back in the day. My idea was, oh my God, I love Spawn. I love Todd. It's always been my favorite thing. So I was like, I'm going to go into inking because I want to ink Todd one day, not knowing that Todd doesn't use inkers and all of that. But that is the reason why I became an inker, because I wanted to ink Todd one day. And now to have this kind of full circle thing, to be able to actually enrich the Spawn universe, and Todd is betting on us on different positions of our creative kind of journey, and be able to build on it. It is really rewarding. Like you said, to have a cover from Todd is just mind blowing, and the freedom that he's letting us have to create this, it's quite a bit, because we're trying to not spoil a lot of stuff. and so we keep just kind of revolving around what happened to her and where it goes from there. But it really goes to a lot of places. And again, we have everything from humanity, from heaven to hell, like everything in between. We have all of the factions. We have old characters that are going to show up, but are not the characters that you remember from when they last appeared, because they evolved. Because again, I'm a fan of the universe and I read it and I know it really well. Yeah. I feel like I can fight Thomas Healy, the editor-in-chief, and Todd. I can hold my own very, very well against them talking about the lore. I know it very, very well. So everything that we're trying to incorporate on this, in my head, it makes sense, and I'm researching it and I'm doing it all. So I'm really excited for some of these characters to show up. And why do they show up? Because it is all connected. It all goes back to, again, the consequences of what Spawn did or did not do and what happens now. Because again, it's not even necessarily Sherlee now going on a vengeance mission to meet Spawn because she's mad. It's not even that. If you think about it, she's this little girl who technically, could have been saved and everything would be okay. And now she has power. We don't actually know what that power is. And that power can change the universe, not necessarily even directly through Spawn, but in everything around it. She is in this position, good or bad, because of him. And it's really, really fun to explore.
Yeah, and I've got everybody, if you're watching on YouTube, I've got one of Jonathan's interior pages. This is one of the first pages I saw that he did where I was blown away. And it goes back to what you were saying, Daniel, about his sense of design. And obviously this is flashing back. We see Sherlee there in the bottom right panel. Like you were saying earlier, Daniel, she's peeking through that crack and saying, hey, I'm saved. And to have it all pulled away from her. But mostly I just wanted to show this because, this is incredible. This is really me seeing what your style is going to look like, your penciling style is going to look like, Jonathan, for the first time. And, man, the detail. I love the line weights you use. Great composition. Just I'm really excited to get my hands on the book and check it out more.
It's evolved. Crazy enough, it's evolved.
Yeah, it's the pages that he's doing right now. Oh.
Well, and I imagine it'll probably keep evolving, because you're going to keep.
Well, that's the hope, that you keep growing and you keep, hopefully, like I told Daniel in the beginning, hopefully the goal is to look back at this beginning of what we're doing here and going, ooh, that's because we've grown, yep. We both grown in our craft. That you can look back. I do the same thing with my inks, like. That was terrible.
And even that page, we've talked about this a little bit, so it's not a spoiler for the story, because that is the beginning of the book. And what's happening is we start the story, because it wasn't bad enough what you already suffered at Billy's hands. She's now stuck in a loop, reliving that moment over and over and over again. Yes. So this is, again, one of those loops where she's reliving it. And right there, she's like, he's not going to save me again, because she already knows. She lived this so long, and she has now this grudge against this, sad man, how Cyan used to call him. And it also connects to the necroplasmic explosion from Spawn 301, which is going to trigger a lot of stuff. And there is a reason why that explosion also goes near Sherlee, and that's what brings her and the Stranger together, which is a character that's also kind of ripped away from his own universe, and it has a lot of conflict and uncertainty about his powers in all of that. But like I said, it is all connected, and it is all for a reason. I'm trying to be very meticulous with like the mythology of what Spawn is.
I can't wait till people see more of the Stranger as well, because I think a lot of people have gotten a heavy dose of Sherlee, obviously.
Yeah.
But this is kind of like a duo in a sense. Yeah. And we're following both of their journeys. So
that
he's not like a side thing.
A sidekick.
So to say.
Yep.
Yeah. So
go.
I was going to say, I can't wait. There's a lot of new characters, it looks like, or characters I'm not necessarily familiar with that I can't wait to discover. And you'll all be able to discover them as well. May 21st, the book is out. Final order cutoff And the reason that Jonathan and Daniel and I are talking about this now is because we want to give you time to let your comic shop know, right? Final order cutoff is April 28th. This is the best way you can help out Jonathan and Daniel and your local comic shop to make sure you get a copy. We know the shelves are crowded these days. We know times are tight. So let your comic shop know, hey, I'm going to be picking up the series. Go ahead and pre-order it for me. Put it in my pull box or what have you. Pre-order. I know I bang that drum all the time, but that's really how you can help these guys out. Daniel, you were saying?
No, actually, I'm going to switch again. I'm sorry, just because of what you just said, because there is something that we haven't really discussed much. And you were talking about the pre-orders. I'm not sure how many people are aware at this point, because right now we have Jonathan's cover for cover A. We have Todd's cover for cover B. Oh, now I forgot if there's a black and white or
the blank.
Yes, and then the blank. And there is, and even if you go to Lunar and all of that, you will see that there's another tier there, which is something that I don't think Todd has ever done. Todd is reprinting issue 5 as a not consequence, but because of this. So there is a ratio cover per se that's not necessarily a cover. It's a reprint from issue 5, which I think it's pretty damn cool, because back in the day they weren't doing any of those reprints at Image. There's no second, third, or fourth printings. So to have Todd believe in us to the point that he's doing that, so fans can have the entire connection and have what I think it's a really, really important story in Spawn's mythology, just because of the tone of what it says. Because that story it was Todd's scream per se of, this is not Batman or Superman. This is something else that you have here. So now you mentioned the pre-order thing, and I remember to mention this because I think it's really cool that Todd is doing that.
Yeah, that final page of issue 5 is when he's hanging in Sam and Twitch's office, man. That's when you knew, right? Like, we all read that as kids. That's when you knew, oh, man, this is, like you were saying, Daddy, this is not Batman. This is not Superman. This is its own thing. Holy crap. So, anyway, Jonathan, go ahead.
The funny thing about issue 5 that he's talking about is New York Comic Con, he was getting people you were signing those.
Yep,
right?
I signed.
They were wanting you to sign.
Which is mind-blowing for me. Yep, to have fans bring issue 5 to sign.
Yeah, so I think it's pretty cool that Todd did that. Officially reprinting that issue 5 is pretty special. That he would do that.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, again, we don't want to spoil. We want everybody to experience this for themselves. But I did want to show some of these character designs for some of these characters that I'm talking about that are going to show up for the first time. And if you guys want to tease anything, feel free. But Crimson Seraph, I think this is a new character. I'm not.
Yeah,
does it look familiar? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, that for me, and I'm so I don't know. Do you want to go ahead first, Jonathan, or?
No, go.
No, because for me, it's one of my favorite characters per se, especially as far as the design goes. And again, it's one of those examples of Jonathan's sense of design and also of our conversation in this sense. Because again, my idea was, okay, I want to have a part of heaven that doesn't look like what we've seen so far. There's been different iterations of heavenly warriors, from the Redeemers to Angela's, to Tiffany's, all of that. And even now they look a bit more mechanical in a lot of Brett Boots designs. I was like, I just want to have this creature. I want to have this beast of a character, and we can hark back to the old designs of angels, full of eyes and everything. And he's a seraph, so he should have 6 wings. And then again, Jonathan started doing all of the design. And I mean, when he just started with that, with the face and everything, I was just like mind blown. And then you get to the part of the conversation that it was Jonathan telling me, do you realize how, and again, it's easy for somebody who's writing to be like, I want, let's do this really big. Yeah. What if the wings are gigantic? And Jonathan's like, you do realize I have to draw him in every single panel. And now he has 6 giant wings. We can't do that. We have to figure something out. And then we're literally on the phone, and this is me and Jonathan on camera. It's like, what if he doesn't actually always have his wings? He's such a powerful being, because in the Spawn mythology, if you cut one of their wings, they kind of go crazy and everything. But what if he's just so powerful, he actually ripped off his wings because he doesn't need them for anything. And whenever he needs to fly or something, he just ignites this 6 gigantic power wings, or whatever you want to call them. And when he's in his full form, that's how he is. He has these 6 gigantic red power wings that it came from this conversation of us just chatting on the phone.
That's awesome.
I'll give you a little tip on that one. So if I create wings in the way that he's saying, which is like energy, is basically how I'm seeing it. It's like energy flares out. Then I don't have to draw feathers. I didn't want to have to draw feathers.
Yeah.
I'm like,
feathers are a pain.
Because I think originally in the lore or whatever, the crimsons, the eyes are in the wings. Yeah, the Seraphs.
A lot of well, they're not. If you go back to actual Bible mythology, they don't even look like people. They're kind of circles full of eyes and like rings almost. But I mean,
for him, he's kind of got this lobster shell kind of hard.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
That's Bellerophon.
Remember, I got those mixed up.
Yes.
This Bellerophon. I get like a Hellraiser, like a Cenobite vibe a little bit.
Yeah, it does have kind of the look, but I don't think Jonathan even knows what that is. That's kind of our big baddie per se, and I think that again, I really love what Jonathan did with him. We never really talked much about Bellerophon. I think I think I mentioned the thing. It would be cool for him to be like tall and have 4 arms, something like that. But you did your own like designs and came out really cool.
There's no sense of my design little sheets or whatever, just me and him riffing or whatever, but you don't get a sense of scale. But like he's tall and you have that smoke conjuring, so he can be even taller. He can kind of
I get to play with scale there. And then the stranger mentioned several times co-lead. Is it fair to say he's the co-lead of the book?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because again, the title and everything kind of veered more towards Sherlee. And again, I do think she plays a bigger role in the sense of the connection right now, but it is about their story together and what they're going through. So yeah, it is fair to say co-lead. And again, I love the design, even the whole thing with the sword and everything, because we're like, I'm a big fan of like old games like Final Fantasy and that kind of stuff, and even the manga Berserk. And it's like, God, what if we give him a giant sword? Like that's just. And then again, Jonathan started creating, and we had the idea of igniting the sword, depending on how his powers are active or not, and that's what you're seeing there. When his sword is, just powered off per se, or when it has his powers flowing through it. I don't know what Jonathan has to say about what was on his mind, but again, because right now I get to be a co-creator and a fan, getting to see this come in.
Yeah. So on this one, it's like I like the whole black suit kind of thing, all ashed over or whatever it is, But I like the reversal of the the Spawn with the red cape, but his red is interior of the cape. So I'm thinking about the Spawn universe in that sense. And of course, like the gauntlet, there's no real connection to, it just so happens he has a weapon on his arm too. But if you look at it, like this was one of the things that was deliberate on how I laid it out, which was connected to when we pitched it to Todd, was I need to make this look visually like a toy. So I need accessories. So I'm like putting these accessories, and maybe Todd will latch onto that a bit and see a little bit of the vision.
That would be cool. One of these as an action figure. I'm curious, Jonathan. So often I hear from artists who design a character. It's really cool. They work really hard on the character design, and then they go to do the interiors, and they're like, oh wait, I designed it so complicated. Now I got to draw it in all these panels. Kind of what we were talking about with the wings earlier. So was there anything about the stranger that once you started putting him in the panels and having to have him move around and stuff that you're like, oh, maybe I should have tweaked that a little bit. I shouldn't have made it quite so complicated. Or did you kind of nail it?
The gauntlet. The gauntlet, like you could see, I don't know if you could see like the gauntlet that has a little happy face up there, because I kept sort of evolving it. And when I designed it initially, it was just kind of like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then you're realizing, wait, I had to draw this in different angles, and so the gauntlet is like the bane of my existence. And the sword is a bit tricky too, because the sword there looks small, but the sword is actually really big. I guess it doesn't look small there, but it's a really big chunk,
right.
you know?
Yeah.
So sometimes, depending on the angle, it doesn't always translate to that big chunky thing. Yeah. So I tend to struggle with that a little bit, but it's like, that's how it would be. So yeah, there's some things, but with anything, you know, the more you draw it, right. the more you feel comfortable with it, and the more you start to embrace the character, you know. Yep. I did this one page where this thing happens, and I can say he's like raging out, right? It doesn't even give anything away. I'm not giving.
No.
But I'm going to just explain the thing. So I started playing with the hood a bit, and I was drawing it, and I was thinking, we don't always have to see his face. You know, he's in this dark hood. We don't always have to see his face, with see the eyes or whatever. But then I think it just kind of unintentionally drew the opening of the hood, and it looked like a mouth. And I was like, oh. So I started, now I'm more embracing that. It's right. Almost as if in that moment he's inside of this rage. And you get the trim of the hood is red, so it looks like he's inside of this mouth. Yeah, that's so cool. You know, that's when you kind of start to kind of embrace the thing that you created, hopefully, and then at least for me, like I'm starting to kind of embrace some of that stuff and really start to feel the character a bit.
Yeah. And that's what I love the stranger again, and he's not talked about or shown enough because again, we're trying not to spoil a lot of the stuff. But again, it's again the consequences of what Spawn did, because again, Sherlee would have never met this character, and Sherlee now also has her powers. He's a very powerful character. We'll realize why, and he has his own set of problems. But maybe this will put him on a collision course as well, maybe with Spawn or some of those characters. They are together in this trip, her with her humanity that's kind of corrupted to a certain degree as well because of having these clown powers inside him. He has some issues per se that he's dealing with as well. It's a very interesting duo, in my opinion, that gets put on this path that starts with tragedy. But it's been really, really fun to explore. Again, I really hope that people will give us a chance with this because, gosh, we have so much to say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm even more excited now to check it out if we're talking to you too. So remember, everybody, May 21st, it's in comic shops. Now's the time to pre-order. You have up till April 28th to pre-order.
Oh, my camera's doing something weird.
It's going away.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah, it's like look at my camera's like
it's here. Going away. Your camera just went away.
Well, Jonathan's getting his camera figured out. Daniel, 48 pages for the first issue, and I think I saw that it was a bi-monthly schedule, so coming out every other month. Are all the issues going to be 48 pages?
No. It's the first one. Yes, it's going to be a double issue. Moving forward, it's just the regular 20 pages or 21, 22, depending sometimes, but usually just the normal 20 pages. It even all started, it was the first solicitation, because again, the book did have another name. It was No Home Here.
Right.
And it was solicited with just the regular 22 pages at the time, or 24, don't remember. But then when we kind of got together again and we decided to change the name and kind of rebrand things again to do a bigger push behind it, let's say, and we changed the name, and it was Todd's ideas. Like, God, like this story of these two issues works well, would work really well. And also the thing of, since it got pushed a couple of months back with the name change, well, at least if it got pushed a couple of months back, we're making it a double issue. So at least people wait a little bit more, but then they get 2 issues right away. Right. But then moving forward, it is bi-monthly and single issues.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, again, everybody, May 21st, be sure to pick it up. We'll, of course, be spotlighting on our Indie Spotlight that week. You have until April 28th to pre-order, as I said. And I want to give you guys a chance. Anything else that you want to share with our audience that we didn't cover? Maybe, Jonathan, I'll start with you.
I have nothing.
What about you, Daniel? Anything else you want
No, well, again, in my sense, I'm curious to see, as a Spawn fan myself, what a lot of the things I'm trying to incorporate. I'm curious to see how much little things our fans going to pick up that are not necessarily direct with the story, but are little nuggets and cameos and stuff like that within our book. Again, it is a new story, but it has a lot of little nuggets in there. I'm very curious to see what people are going to, if they're going to detect those even, and what they'll think about it. And I hope they like the expansion to the Spawn universe.
Yeah, I mean, going back.
I do.
Oh, go ahead, Jonathan.
I do want to give a nod to our other collaborator, FCO Placentia, coloring the book. Because originally I was coloring the book, and I colored the first issue, actually. But that was just like a crazy mission. So we were lucky enough to get FCO on board. So yeah, the book is looking amazing, as far as like the colors.
Yeah, so, he's somebody you work with. He colored a lot of your work on Batman. Am I right?
Yep.
So yeah, somebody familiar
Greg
with.
And FCO have been working for quite a while. Yeah.
Fantastic. Great. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me. It's been a blast. Like I said, I'm more excited than ever to check this out. To be able to go all the way back to issue 5 when I think, 368 or something, 370 spawns on, go all the way back to issue 5 and be mining that and building on that and adding to the Spawn universe is just amazing. So thanks so much. I look forward to the project and hope it sells really well. Best of luck.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
And on behalf of Daniel and Jonathan, we all want to express our gratitude for everybody joining us, whether you're checking us out on YouTube or the audio-only feed. We really appreciate the support, and we'll talk to you next time.